Have you ever felt like you don't belong, like you are the odd one out, like you're just standing there as an observer waiting to be accepted and included? Well, today I want to talk about that feeling because managing that feeling has shaped my adult life. It has shaped how I lead, it shaped how I parent, it shaped how I see well-being, and it basically shaped how I show up as a human being in communities with other humans. I was born and raised in Poland, in a town called Opole, and I grew up with a clear mental model of how my life should look like, right? Graduate, get a stable job, get married, live close by to parents to visit them for Sunday lunches. It was a very predictable line from point A to B, and I really liked the predictability of it. But of course, life had other plans. And long story short, I moved several times from Poland to UK to US. I did get married. I got 2 children. But in the end, I landed in Stockholm, in Sweden. So even though by then I was quite experienced with relocating and starting life anew, Sweden was different because for the first time in my life, I did not understand the world around me, like literally. The language barrier was real. Well, don't get me wrong, Swedes speak perfect English, but not speaking that local language exposes you as the outsider. And I realized in that moment that if I would let the embarrassment of not speaking that local language govern my actions, I would isolate myself, but what I think is even worse, my children would watch me isolate myself. So I stopped and thought about what to do, and I decided to lean into the values that were helpful in my life in the past, and those values were kindness, courage, and curiosity. So I was curious to challenge the stereotype of Swedes not being, being reserved, and by initiating conversations. For that, I had to use my courage to break through the embarrassment of not speaking Swedish, and it did lead me to make some connections. And through kindness, some of those connections became friendships. And yes, everything worked out. I got a job, I found some friends, I felt part of a local community. Everything seemed to be right on track, well, until it wasn't. Of course, there was a hiccup, like in everyone's life. And not that long ago, I found myself quite unexpectedly in between the jobs. And those few months shook me deeply. Sorry. I felt completely lost. I cried a lot, like you can even see it's coming back. I was doubting in myself. I was doubting in all of the decisions I have made. And, well, basically, I didn't know what to do. And in that moment when I felt like I was drowning, that was also the moment when I realized and felt the presence of the village that I did manage to create along the way. And the people who showed up for me to hold me and support me were the people who I have known for a relatively very short time. One of them was my best friend Molly, and I have known her only for 2 years, but yet she was always there to listen to my panic and never made me feel like a burden. She would encourage me to go out and to get distracted, and she basically made me feel at home, away from home. Another friend connected me to the job I currently have at IGHNxEU, and that reminded me that opportunity is built on human connection. And all of that was possible because I did allow myself to be seen, not the curated version, but the vulnerable version. And throughout that journey, I realized something profound, that my children were watching all of this. My children were absorbing not my words, but my behaviors. So again, I had to stop and think about life and think about what values do I want to model for my kids, for them to build strong well-being, strong resilience, strong social capacity. What creates long-term mental health in real life, not just in theory? Well, so I figured they must be the values that have helped me before, namely kindness, curiosity, and courage. So I went that way, and that was my guide to my decisions and actions. Because when we teach children to be curious, they ask better questions. Their interpretations are richer. Their assumptions are fewer. When we teach them to be kind, they build bridges, they make connections, they build their own villages. And when we teach them to be courageous, they create change instead of waiting for permission. I was afraid this would happen, sorry. And those values, the ones I mentioned, do not apply just within raising your own family. They apply within the broader communities too. Recently, I have joined Bruised Food Club, which is an Uppsala-based charity organization that fights food waste and food insecurity through redistributing the surplus nutritious food to the people in need. The founders and leaders of these organizations make sure that this is a safe space for anyone, especially people at their most vulnerable moments, people experiencing food insecurity. But I felt it for myself too, even though I did feel like the odd one out that happened to join the volunteer circle by a quite random chance. I immediately felt accepted and welcomed. And I saw my children absorb this too. Recently, we had an apple juicing event where we were collecting the apples that would otherwise go to waste, and we're turning them into the apple juice. And for that event, my kids came with, and they actually helped quite a lot. And at some point, one of the volunteers asked Maya, my daughter, what she wants to do when she grows up. To which she responded that, I want to save the world, like you guys. And that moment reminded me again that children internalize values, concepts like leadership, not through abstract definitions, but through lived example. And that doesn't end there. Those values, kindness, curiosity, and courage, extend to the workplaces too. And there is data on that. Psychological safety and the values, which are the behavioral engine behind it, so the ones I've just mentioned, are the #1 predictor of high-performing teams. It's not strategy, it's not intelligence, it's not structure, it's safety. That feeling that it's okay to say, I don't know, or I made a mistake, or I see it differently. By that, the spaces are created where people can communicate, when they can collaborate. Collaboration improves efficiency and reduces waste, and that leads to the higher performance. So psychological safety and the values that come with are not just some sort of emotional luxury. They are actually the operational foundation. And even though and even though there is a way of leading like that, we still live in systems that reward dominance and control. Patriarchy is not just a social bias, it is an operational design. And alternatives to that exist. Studies show that if there are more female leaders, employee well-being improves. And collaboration increases, and that drives performance. Yet, even though that is a fact, we still have only around 1/3 of managers in the European Union who are female. And we do need more of them, because female leadership, or anyone who leads like that, regardless of the gender, demonstrates something that I think we could have heard throughout many talks today, that kindness is not a weakness, curiosity is not lack of authority, and courage is not aggression. These values create spaces where people can breathe, where they can think, and where they can contribute. So if you do feel like the odd one out, I want you to know this. It doesn't matter if you're leading a country, a big corporation, or just your family. The most powerful leadership is the one that comes from your heart. And there is no well-being more real than the well-being you intentionally create. So be kind and be bold. Thank you.